It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. Our sponsor today is Morning Ag Clips. Morning Ag Clips is America's #1 daily ag news service, designed to be a quick and easy read. It will help you stay up to date on the important headlines in both local and national agriculture every business morning. You can go to their website at www.morningagclips.com to sign up or peruse the headlines. Connect with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Your Morning Ag Clips will help to keep you in the know. Welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I am so excited for my conversation today. My guest is a graduate of Kansas State University. From 2013 to 18, he served as the CEO of U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance. He has nearly 30 years of experience ranging from food, healthcare, agriculture, and biotechnology. He's given more than 500 speeches to ag, media, and consumer audiences, and he was the executive producer for the groundbreaking documentary Farmland. And now he's leading the way at AgWiki as the CEO of the startup social platform concentrating on solving global food production challenges. I'd like to welcome Randy Krotz. Welcome, Randy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction. It's probably creeped well past 30 years now, though. That's the been in agriculture a long time now.
Wow. So do you have a farming background in addition to all these other credentials?
Sure. I actually grew up on a very active crop and livestock farm in north central Kansas, a little town called Cuba. Cuba, Kansas was our actual address, up on the Nebraska border. And so a lot of crop rotation, and at that point, a lot of alfalfa for cattle and different things. But I went to Kansas State and pretty much tried to stay as engaged as I could in our farm. And always did to some degree with my dad. If not from a labor standpoint, we were able to have a lot of conversations over the years. And then here recently, and not too recently, but a couple of years back, I lost my father. So now kind of in the, when you think of how we manage things today and virtual meetings and everything else, I'm 7 hours from our family farm, and I'm in it with my brother and sister, but I kind of run the farm day to day, and we have a custom farm. So it's kind of interesting to be. I'm more involved now than I've ever been in it, and in a very interesting time for agriculture, particularly as commodity prices are doing what they're doing and costs are seeming to skyrocket on most fronts. It's been an interesting year to run the farm remotely.
I bet, to say the least. And so what is AgWiki? Where did the idea come from?
So the original founder is a gentleman in Perryville, Missouri, south of St. Louis, John LaRose Jr. And it actually came out of conventions that his company and his father's company ran or still runs relative to bringing together academics and farmers to come together once a year and give presentations and share information around everything: conservation, cotton, rice, soybeans, corn, primarily in the southern half of the U.S. But it's a great experience. It's 1,500 of the smartest people in agriculture come together and talk about what's new. Conservation has always been a key element of that convention or a conference. And John just had the idea of, can we take this and move it online, and can it be global? Because a lot of times they had people come in from all over the world to give these presentations, and graduate students and doctorates, and so I think that's where the idea came from for him. And I came in a couple of years back and with some marketing ideas around the company and how to really launch it and go to an app-based PC and app-based product. And it's really, our motto or our slogan is solving the world's food problems socially. In reality, what we're trying to do is get people from all over the world to come together and share information, whether you're an agronomist, whether you're perhaps a nutritionist for livestock, or a dietitian in the human consumption, to get together and talk about how we grow and raise food and how we can do it better, how we can face the challenges with the environment, how we can evolve with consumers, and where the consumer mindset is today, which is a huge challenge for farmers. I was just reading today that of all the land in the United States, it's 1% organic. You wouldn't know that by the chatter that's around that type of production practice. And farmers want to give consumers what they want. And I think around the globe, the evolution of how we grow and raise food comes from farmers, maybe sometimes from feedback from consumers or even activists, right? So the idea is to simply get farmers talking to one another and sharing information. And we might know how to control a disease in wheat in Kansas that other parts of the world don't know. Sometimes it's with a fungicide, sometimes it's with crop rotation, or how you treat your soil. And we just want to be the place where people go to find that type of information. The amazing thing always is, if we have 1.5 million farmers in the United States, there's 570 million farmers on the planet.
Wow.
And I know that's a huge number. And when you think about who we're chasing that larger number, that's who we're trying, and of course we'll never get to that number, but if we can get several million people coming together in a social platform to share information and talk about issues, we think agriculture will be better for it.
Yeah, I agree. I started an AgWiki account, and I have to admit, I totally went down the rabbit hole. There is so much interesting information, and it's so well laid out. So who is the typical user, and what roles are they coming from? Are they all producers?
They're not all producers. We do have some university researchers, agronomists from the western part of the United States. We have farmers from now 21 countries.
Wow.
that are on AgWiki. And so most of the conversations that get started between users usually starts with an agronomist of some sort, kind of teeing up a topic. There's an area. The neat thing about AgWiki is you can go in, there's a news feed, and you can select what topics you want to follow in your news feed and what you want to hit. And then it's a quick scan through that. If you want to share your own information, you can. If you want to move over to a group and discuss any number of topics, those groups already exist, and you can start one. If you're a commodity group and you want to start your own group, you can. It can be private. Completely private. We can't even see it. And you can also create something that's very public. So there's so many choices. That the future looks good for us in what we're trying to launch next and what we're trying to offer to people. But it's really just a matter of, Chrissy, when you talk to young people, they get really excited about a tool like this. And maybe as agriculture or agriculturalists in the United States, and we think of how much information we have available to us, there's a lot of places to get it. But there's not really those places where it's just peer-to-peer or experts talking to you. and only about agriculture, only about production. And we also want backyard gardeners involved in this. We have a whole section on gardening, a lot of information around animal production. Some of the information comes in through actual feeds that we create or that we're involved with, and they come into AgWiki, and a lot of the information is just posted by individuals.
That's great. And how many different countries are your users from now?
Actually, so I think 21 would catch that.
Yeah.
So, the vast majority are actually U.S., Africa, and South America. But we're trying to change that every chance we get. And it's truly still, it's still in its infancy from a standpoint of people knowing what it is. Our branding efforts around it are very dependent on our ability to raise money. Right now, we're still in an investment mode with AgWiki. It's free to get on AgWiki right now. At some point, that will modify slightly. It's never going to be expensive to be part of this group, but at some point, from a revenue standpoint, and we are a for-profit company. We're a Delaware C Corp company. At some point, we'll need to modify that to where we're not only gathering some advertising dollars, but more than that, probably some sort of small monthly fee from users. And the goal is to be very, very cognizant of people's privacy.
Right.
And we watch every piece of news around the other social media platforms, and there's a lot of it, and try to make sure that we're walking down the right path in how we guard access to the information and what we make available to people.
Yeah, and like you touched on earlier, it's forum style discussions and different groups. What topics are you seeing being covered?
It's interesting. I was going to say that hemp is probably one of our most active topics.
Oh, wow.
And that really got started a year or so ago as people were looking at whether or not that should fit into their production programs, right? And particularly in the eastern part of the U.S. or southeastern part of the U.S. But a lot of right now, a lot of commodity pricing. There was obviously a peak around COVID. And there still is. There's a lot of conversation in the groups around how to address that, how it impacts their individual farms. But I would say more than anything right now, it's around cost of production. It's that simple. It's something that's ever present as we go into, here in this part of I'm in St. Louis, so certainly corn planting is well underway. Really even north of me at this point, but certainly south of me, a lot of it's already done. So, it was on people's minds around how big the check was going to be for fertilizer this year and seed as far as that goes. Well, there's a lot of conversation about that on AgWiki as well.
Oh, that's good. And I was talking to John LaRose a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying about how, a farmer in Kenya can come on and say, I'm having these troubles, and people can help and put in share their ideas and their experiences. So it appears that AgWiki is like a board of directors for a producer, this great place to share ideas. And was that the overall goal?
Well, it's an interesting analogy. I haven't thought of it from that perspective, but it certainly is a place where you can get some guidance. I mean, I remember some time back, a farmer in Brazil was tearing up some natural grassland and deep plowing it, and he posted a picture of what he was doing, and it really got a lot of feedback. He got a lot of conversation going around conservation and a lot of input. I don't know if it changed that particular farmer's approach to what they were doing, but I think it gave some insight that there's other alternatives to moving into the area of needing to farm natural grassland and whether or not you make the soil vulnerable to wind and water erosion, I think. And so, there's a lot of that. I love the livestock conversations as much as anything, and I love sharing. I share a lot of content online regarding hogs, and just because of my background, and I can see how many people go to that, view that content, and it's very interesting to be able to look closely at what interests farmers demographically and geographically across the United States or across the world, excuse me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so what are some of the other goals that you have?
So, and not to dwell on it all, and it's not why I'm here, but we are in a crowdfunding site right now that's very much like a soft launch of the company from a public perspective. The what you have to go through from sharing your books, and it's SEC oversight on all these things. So we're out there right now talking to people about investing in AgWiki. We just started a second round of doing that. So that's an opportunity for anybody and everybody to own stock in the company. If anybody wants to make an investment, more than that is to continue to make the tool valuable to farmers, and then the rest of it comes naturally, right? And probably a critical next step for us is specifically around education content and being able to have classroom settings online to where we can, around the world talk around certain issues. GMOs still, even today, GMOs get a lot of conversation, even though farmers in the U.S. may be well down that path. Farmers in other parts of the world aren't. So it'd be great to create those conversations, in a classroom setting and get to where people can look at the videos. I think right now there's, I'm going to say 250 videos out there where you can go and look at raising rice and conservation and all these different categories and buckets of information around how to grow and raise crops. And that's what we want to continue to expand. And we want that to come from other countries, not just come from the United States.
Wow. And what's coming down the pipe? What can we look forward to as you grow?
Hopefully a much more public image of the company. I would say that we have not yet, it's kind of a stealth launch of the company still, even though we're out there in some social media corners, we still don't put a lot of money behind, promoting the company at this point in time. There's a couple of things we still want to get done before we do that, but we certainly don't hold back either in most cases. But the biggest thing is just I think in the future is to improve our education platform, grow users, and gain some more investment dollars to where we can become a actual, we're pre-profit right now. We're pre-revenue, I should say. And we'd certainly like to get in a situation where we're a revenue company. And we want to do that all based on doing the right thing for agriculture as a whole, and never get caught up in, the aspects of that you can so easily get caught up when you have a social media company. We want this to be about connecting people and bettering the world, growing more food with less harm to the planet, and further understanding consumers and what they want from farmers as far as how we grow and raise our food.
That's really inspiring. And can anyone start an account?
You can. Right now, they're still free. So,
Nice.
You can go on site just like you did and start an account and select the topics that you want to cover. It's very quick, very easy. And then when you do start an account and you see our content online, it's very easy just to bounce over to it if you see it in a social space. So that way it's much easier to roll right over to AgWiki and comment on that content or share your own content or whatever you might want to do.
That's amazing.
It's a combination, Chrissy, of really, I'm not always comfortable with making these analogies. It's a little like LinkedIn. It's a little like Facebook, but we have very much tried to make it its own identity with some very unique features that we talked some about today. But really just the goal of getting peer-to-peer, farmers to farmers. In my career, I've had a lot of the time has been focused on bringing consumers and farmers together so that consumers understand better what's going on the farm. That's not what this is about. And when I reflect on the last 30 years, the conversations that farmers enjoy more than any others is talking to another farmer.
Yeah.
we used to move farmers from Alabama to California. We'd have farmers switch places. I started in the cotton business, and we had a program where we moved one farmer, just for a week to go out to another farmer farm in another part of the country, and that's a great experience for them. They very much enjoy it, and even today, when you put a group of farmers in a room, they migrate to each other, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's really cool. And are you still looking for investors?
We are actually, yeah. You can go to fundify.com/AgWiki and make make an investment, and that gets you stock, and you have a position in the company.
That's great. And is there an app, or is it PC based right now?
So it's a great question. Being PC based is pretty common today, and we are. We also we launched apps with it initially. We will again, and not to get in too much detail at all, but maintaining an app with the rules that exist as you're starting up a company and you're evolving your the IT part of your site all the time, keeping apps up to date and having them reviewed every time you make a change. So we're probably you can still get to it via an app for just AgWiki, but we'll probably have that on pause for another few months before we go back and relaunch apps that we hope are kind of finished at that point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that it's pretty tough to keep up with all of their crazy rules.
There are so many. Both Google and Apple. I mean, it's a lot of rules.
Yeah, for sure. So in your opinion, what do you think are the biggest challenges that we're facing today when it comes to food security?
Well, so I would say, my concern is particularly, heightened because of the pandemic, and heightened because of the war and all the things that we're going through. I read the other day where 15% of our wheat on the globe comes from Ukraine and Russia, and where that's going to head for the next 12 or 24 months is, I think, pretty hard to predict.
Yeah.
So I would say, as a whole, continuing to move food around the globe. I don't hear or read a lot in other world areas where it has changed significantly, but we've certainly seen it here in North America. I just saw a store in North Dakota, a grocery store in North Dakota, online the other day that the shelves were nearly bare. So, getting food to the right place, I think, is important. I think also I want consumers to understand that buying local is great, and we're all for that, but it shouldn't circumvent, the food that you buy in the grocery store. It's still very healthy food. It's safe, and oftentimes more affordable, perhaps. So I don't want people to step away from that in order to try to seek out organic or non-GMO or whatever it might be. Again, buy local. Those kinds of businesses are fantastic. But I think that we need to face up to the fact that food security is coming with all sorts of faces right now, and coming at us in many different ways. And we need to be prepared for it. And I don't know where the future is going to go with it, but I don't see the challenges in other world areas right now, other than what they normally deal with, right? I haven't seen a heightening, but certainly global trade and is at the top of everybody's mind, and the impacts that it's having on our shelves, on our automobiles, on our tractors, and the availability of chips and all of that kind of stuff. So I think food security weaves into all of that.
Yeah, those are some great points for sure. And what opportunities do you see moving forward that we should be paying attention to?
Well, for us, because of what I do, I probably look at more ag news than most people, in a broad scale of agricultural news around the globe. Technology is, I think farmers need to stay very attuned to what their investments are in technology, what they're spending to get technology today versus what will be available tomorrow. And I see the incredible change that it can make in how we manage our farm. And people need to know very, very clearly that, we're in a world area that has access to that most of the world doesn't. Not all, but most of the world doesn't. So, I think just as a globe, staying attuned with technology and how it can impact us and how it will improve our food production system and grow healthier and safer food.
Yeah, I agree. And one last question for you before we wrap up. What is your passion? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Well, most of the time, my dog, actually. But I think, generally speaking, I'm still tied back to the farm in that regard. So, just like most agriculturalists, wherever you are, you're always curious about what's going on with everybody else, what the weather is around the world. My passion is very directly related to be a farmer advocate, and it always has been.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a little bit different approach to it because it's more peer-to-peer than it's been trying to deal as a lobbyist or deal with consumers. Now I'm just trying to use that passion that's a lifelong passion to bring farmers together. My dad was born in 1931 and could always talked about his first couple of crops were harvested and planted with horses that he recalls. Not that he did, but he recalls. And one of the last things that he did on our farm was drive a tractor that he didn't need to steer. Mm-hmm. So, that evolution was gigantic for him. And his his portrayal of agriculture in my entire life is what created that passion. And I think It's that way for a lot of people. I went down, it's that way for you. I mean, what our parents put in front of us created a passion, and how we feel about food creates a passion. And that's why I want to be a part of agriculture, and probably will be till the last day I walk the earth.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yep. Thank you so much for joining me today. What a great discussion. I'm really excited for the future of AgWiki.
Thank you. And AgWiki appreciates the opportunity to talk to you and your viewers. We're excited about the future. We really are.
That's awesome. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight on YouTube, Rumble, AgFuse, Telegram, Getter channels, and podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day. Thanks so much for listening to today's Ag Spotlight episode, where we put the spotlight on people and companies doing great things for the agricultural industry. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or on your favorite podcasting platform, and give us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on YouTube and Rumble to see the video version of Ag Spotlight. Also, head on over to NorthAmericanAg.com to subscribe to our Industry Connect update newsletter. If you're interested in advertising opportunities, email us at connect@NorthAmericanAg.com. Thanks for listening. Our newest podcast by North American Ag is called What Color is Your Tractor? The stories behind the ag brands you love and the ag brands you love to hate. Hosted by me, Chrissy Wozniak. We take a deep dive into the companies that have built modern agriculture. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Go to whatcolorisyourtractor.com. Available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.